More of a petty compliance, really. When I was in 8th grade, there was a policy that limited the number of absences you could have to like 8 or 10 a year. We were having family issues and planning to move in a month, and I was just a depressed tween bored with the warehouse that was most of 8th grade. The compliance comes in with this. You are not considered absent if you left after attending more than 50% of the day. So cue me in the office every day for the entire month of October, halfway through lunch, claiming to be sick and having my mom pick me up. When we finally moved at the end of October, I had attended only 3 days of classes after lunch. But I mean, you weren't absent, so it counted. You followed the rules. I like this. Perfect marks on your grade. They had to have changed it after that. There's no way you got away with doing that for that whole school year and then that wasn't changed the following year. You set a new precedent for sure. Remove the price tickets I made? Sure, you got it, boss. I work as a sales advisor in a showroom. The company recently went through some changes, specifically with the way price tickets are created. All tickets are to have QR codes linking to the item online. Stupid, I know. But what makes things worse is that they've updated the printing system. So now, if a product is not on the website or just hasn't had its QR code linked, it'll output a script error, making it impossible to print that ticket. As a result, yours truly has been making tickets from scratch for newer products or products that are just not on the site yet for the past year. This was supposed to be just while the other departments got the proper ones made. And it never happened. They just got complacent, huh? Fast forward to last week, and I get an email from upper management asking for a list of all the tickets needed for the showroom. A little over 100 tickets at this point. I do so, as I thought this was just them wanting to make a push to have the rest complete. Half an hour later, I get a follow-up email saying, "We need to deal with the issue at the source," questioning why I didn't inform anyone about the tickets needed. I did. In fact, I'm still waiting for some that I asked for back in January. Nice. That's when you hit them with the "as per my last email" to really like hammer in that you're pissed. And questioning where I even got the template for the tickets from, since they would never give one out. After responding, I received another email stating that I should never have done that, as it looks unprofessional having some tickets with and without QR codes. The email ended by saying that I'm never to do this again, and that I'm to take the ones that I made down now and put the proper ones up. This was further reiterated in a meeting between my manager and upper management. He let me know afterwards. But would you look at that? The proper price tickets still aren't made yet, and I'm on holiday for a few days. Oh well, better take them down anyway. Wouldn't want to get in trouble for having anything unprofessional up after all. You mean unprofessional like not having a price ticket up there? Oh, wouldn't want that. I mean, the OP improvised and made a solid solution that was working as a placeholder, and then they were like, "No, it's wrong!" I mean, then update your systems, because it's not working otherwise. But hey, you know, that's your choice. I'm just here to follow orders, I guess. Shipping price is too high? No problem. A few friends of mine have businesses where they sell on this place. Let's call it the River. Rules of the River are controlled by a bunch of poorly programmed bots, and the support staff is trained that the bots are always right. What is this, drop shipping? My friend charged $3.75 for shipping for items under 8 ounces. When they started, it was a reasonable price for shipping that gave them a small profit. Fast forward 10 years and postage is now $3.90, plus the cost of labels and boxes, etc. Clearly, friend is taking a loss on shipping. The bots came along and decided that charging $3.75 for shipping is too much, and deactivate all the listings that charge this much for shipping. The River much prefers items to have free shipping. Explanations that he's actually losing money on shipping fall on deaf ears. Okay, malicious compliance time. He changed all of them to free shipping and raised the price of the items to $7 to $15. The bots on the River had no problem with this. Modern problem, meet modern solution. You don't want me to do overtime? Okay. My boss has a different priority on the work other than our main one. Say our job is to check and verify client data. His priority is to attend calls that does not concern it, i.e. calls about the football or photography club. Our main boss is asking a file to be updated by a certain day. That week, we're down 2 people on the work, so we're swamped with a lot of rush requests. This file is also used by another team, so updating it is a priority. The week goes by and it's still not updated, so the main boss asks me why it's not updated. I told him we're missing 2 people on the team, so I'm not able to reconcile it, and have to ask my immediate boss to do it. Well, what do you know? He didn't do it. We were given until Monday to update it. I asked for permission to do an overtime over the weekend, but was advised to just enjoy the weekend. So I did. Whatever you say, boss. Come Monday, everyone is going berserk because it turned out that that file contained some errors which resulted into it being escalated to the higher ups. Main boss asked me why didn't I update the file over the weekend. I said I asked for permission to do it Saturday but was told to just enjoy the weekend, so I did not log in. We got into a meeting with main boss and immediate boss was called out for not allowing me to render over time. This caused a massive reporting issue and hits on the reporting side. Sorry main boss, I was just following my immediate boss's instruction. You know, I don't get paid to make rules around here, I get paid to follow them. So if you want me to enjoy my weekend, I mean, you know, whatever you say, you sign the paychecks, man. Minor basic training malicious compliance. Short and sweet. We had to climb up an obstacle course called the Warrior Tower. That sounds badass. Is it the Ninja Warrior Tower though, dude? The last step was to hook our self-made rope harness and B lay down the 30 foot side of the tower? Most people took 4 to 10 hops to jump down. I did it in 1. First big initial kickoff, 1 jump halfway down, then I hit the grass. Immediately a drill sergeant was in my face and yelling, "Private, why the hell did you jump down so fast?" To which I replied, "Drill sergeant, you told me to get off your tower, drill sergeant." He got this odd look on his face and said, "So I did. Now fall in." But when I ran off, I saw a smirk on his face. Oh, you got him good. You got him with something he couldn't really reply back to. It was sound logic. He liked it. Just became his favorite. Late for work. I learned yesterday that I can only have 6 absences a year, no matter the reason, doctor note or not. But I can have 14 tardies in the same year. Not consciously, I'm running late this morning. I could have clocked in 1 to 2 minutes late, but I get the same occurrence whether I'm 2 minutes late or 2 hours late. So here I am in my car reading and playing games for a little bit before I clock in. What do policies encourage bad behavior? That's a good question and I'm not sure. I think some companies would be like, that'll teach them. And then all it does is, loopholes are going to exist in every job. And as a boss, I feel like your job is to make the loopholes less appealing than the rules, right? I feel like that should be your goal. With my employer, the penalty for hourly employees missing work is an occurrence. Occurrences roll off after a year and going beyond 7 at any one time becomes a problem. Missing a day gets you a single occurrence. As odd as this may sound, missing up to 3 consecutive days also results in a single occurrence. The result? Most people that need to miss a single day take the full 3 days off. The penalty is the same, so why not? Again, yeah, if I'm gonna get the same penalty, I'm just gonna take more time off. It seems sound to me like that's the kind of penalty where it's like, I don't need this job, I'm just gonna take the full 3 days, enjoy myself a little bit. Cold caller stalk employees on LinkedIn and proceed to ask the receptionist, me, stupid questions. As a receptionist, one of my tasks is to answer the phone. Who would have guessed? But here's the thing, I'm the only direct line to the company, meaning I'm the only phone number available to the outsiders. Employees have private phone numbers only available to customers. If someone tries to reach an employee but don't have their contact, they get me. When one call is for the employee, I'll put them on hold, Slack the employee and ask them what this about, or if it's a longer request, I'll simply give an address email from which I can transfer said request. As for the calls I get, a lot are cold callers. I've been asked to filter as many as possible, so now I mostly ask them what they want, tell the employee, and put on hold as much as needed. To be honest, a lot of times I have no patience and will make something up to get rid of the cold caller as fast as I can. Employees don't like cold callers anyway, but this is about maliciously complying here. Now here's another thing. A lot of cold callers don't do their homework. They'll find an employee's name on LinkedIn, call me and say, "Hey, I'd like to talk to Patrick Patricka," name changed, head of marketing department, about the video equipments I sell. Do you know if he needs any? Sure thing, pal. Let me ask Patrick Patricka, name changed, who is not in the marketing department but in HR, if he needs video equipment. What? No, I don't need any of that. Thanks, he said. So I told the cold caller, well, no thank you. Patrick doesn't need any of that. All right, that's too bad, the caller said. Sometimes you also have cold callers that stalked employees that haven't updated their LinkedIn. This morning someone called me and asked for Mr. Johnny, name changed, said he really wanted to meet him. Sorry, Mr. Johnny isn't here today, I said with a sorry tone. Oh, that's too bad. Do you know where he'll be? No, sorry, I don't know. I really don't know, by the way. The guy left a year ago. Okay, no worries. I'll call again. Sure thing, pal. You do that. You'll be greeted by my dulcet tones yet again, don't you worry. You said the air freshener was free though? My neighborhood often gets door-to-door salesmen. Usually they read my no soliciting sign and leave, but sometimes they just can't help themselves and knock on my door. I answered one of these knocks, keeping the door concealed stealing my house and saw a kid barely out of high school standing there and holding a can of cheap air freshener. She smiled at me. "Can I help you?" I asked. "We're just going around the neighborhood giving out free air fresheners." She cheerily handed me the can. I took it and looked at her, raising an eyebrow. "And we have this spectacular new carpet cleaning liquid that we're also demoing. If you wanted, I could show you inside," she said, gesturing in the general direction of where she assumed my living room was. I smiled. Malicious compliance time. "No thanks." "Thanks for the air freshener though," I said as I backed up and started to close the door. "Wait," she blurted out, reaching for the door. Can I get the air freshener back?" "No," I flatly said. Her face fell. I laughed. "You told me you were giving them away. You didn't mention I had to listen to a spiel on carpet cleaner to get it." She leaned in. "Well, my boss will get mad if I don't have it when I get back." "Then why were you giving them away?" I tilted my head and tried to look stupid. It wasn't hard. If you wanted me to buy carpet cleaner to then get the air freshener, you should have told me that and not handed it to me immediately. She kind of shook her head as if the marble that powered her brain had fallen loose into the pinball machine below, and she had to wait for it to come back into play, then wandered off in a daze. I shut the door. I just took a massive shit in my bathroom and needed that spray to cover it up. Thanks, carpet cleaner girl, for that free can of Febreze. Well, you know what? In a way, she got a satisfied customer. I think that's a win. Take him as you can get him, while I'm ringing it up as you ordered. I live in a town that's about 90% restaurants, yet the only place to eat is either Raising Cane's, let's get it box combo baby, Chick-fil-A, or here. Someone comes up with a coupon that refers to one particular item here. Okay, can I order the club sandwich, but can I substitute the meat for egg? I tell the customer that they could just order an egg and cheese since we serve all day breakfast here, and that's actually the same price. Maybe a little cheaper than using the coupon. Time comes to pay and I have to ring it in. So when a sub that was $8 is now over $10 because of the substitution change, meanwhile an egg and cheese would have only been about $7.99. TLDR, just because you think a coupon's a good deal does not mean you have to use it. Well, you know, you can't educate stupid and stubborn. Like that combination, you're not going to get anything out of. You did what you could. South African customs and excise? What's excise? Might mean exercise. I don't know if that is exactly what. We're just going to not worry about that word until it comes up again. I work in IT, and we were sending out empty boxes for people leaving the company to send their laptops back in. It was a good process, and we didn't have any issues until the first time I tried it in South Africa. They just couldn't accept the idea the box was empty, and kept asking me for the contents, over and over again. It came to a point where I had enough. You know that bit in The Martian where Mark Watney's been told not to swear on worldwide live TV? That was my reaction to being told it was simply not possible to ship an empty box. Amazon does it all the time, what do you mean? One quick Google later to double check I was right, I listed the contents as follows. 78% nitrogen, N2, 21% oxygen, O2, 0.93% argon, AR, trace amounts of other gases including methane, CH4, carbon dioxide, CO2, and neon, Ne, among others. I included the chemical compositions just to be extra petty, to be honest. I only received 2 more emails on the subject, one to say that my box had been released from customs, and another confirming delivery. Oddly, I never had any issues after that. Well, yeah, you explained what was in the box, so now they knew. They got their question answered. It's okay. The day I became my classmate's advocate. Is this Paul Heyman? Why is it phrased like that? The school I went to had a student's code, which was the rules the students should follow and the consequences for failing to do so. Basically, a law book. So here in Brazil, it's not unusual for you to have the educational parts of school life separated. Like one place for high school, another for kindergarten, and so on. Yeah, just, okay. Usually there's just one place that has it all. That school that I went had a nasty high school coordinator. She overlooked all the teachers that dealt with the high school students, and she usually used the code for her advantage. I was about 15 years old at the time, and got so mad about it that I looked for my mom's copy of the code. All parents received one at enrollment, found it, and read it all. Every rule, every penalty, asked my mom for it, and she gave it to me. From that day, it never left my bag. So through the span of the year, a lot of classmates got late to school, more than 15 minutes. And the penalty for that was that if you got late to class 3 times, you would receive a written warning. 3 of those got you suspended from class for a day, and 3 suspensions got you kicked from the school. Because of that, at the first day of classes next year, the high school coordinator went around all the classrooms to announce that every time someone arrived late, they would receive a warning. So if you got there late 9 times, you were kicked out. I didn't say anything at that moment, but after some months, I got late to class for the 3rd time. She took me to her office and she told me that I wouldn't be attending class that day since it was my 3rd time late. I was being suspended for the day. Enter malicious compliance. I open my bag, pull out my copy of the code and tell her that I wasn't suspended because that's not what's written in the code, and when I was enrolled at the school, my parents agreed to the code's rules, not hers. She got really mad, said my copy was outdated and that she was gonna check hers. I just waited, and not long after that she found her copy and brought it over, read it silently, and her anger melted away. She became a puppy and told me to go to class. Some hours after, she went around all the classrooms to announce that her changes to the rules were no longer in effect and that everyone had their suspensions revoked. Damn, you just told her, actually, officer, the law says this. You schooled her, dude. You schooled the schooler. This is just titled Steak. This is not my story, but my grandpa's co-workers. My grandpa is a retired cop. When he went to lunch break, B-R-A-K-E, okay, he went with his co-worker. Workers? Who's writing this? To a local restaurant? Bro, okay, you know what? It's fine. It's fine. We'll ignore it. It's cool. So one day they went to the restaurant. One of the coworkers jokes that the beef is too small, and one of the waiters heard him. So when the food came, everyone else got a normal steak, but the coworker that joked and complained got a giant steak that he almost couldn't eat. After that, he never complained. Sorry for my batting. Oh, so sorry. My bad. I was poking fun at it. I'm sorry. You did great. I apologize. The phrasing of the words was fine. It was just the spelling. You were... Wait, so if I crack a joke in earshot, they triple my beef count? Where is this place? I need to know, for science. I agree. Any place that's gonna triple my beef for a little complaint? Easy move. For a little jokey complaint, this counts, but probably not in the spirit of the thread. I started a job in finance for a company that fit well with my family setup at the time. My wife's status in an affiliated company played a huge role in my hiring, so I feel obligated to make it work no matter what. My boss was a serious bully. Oh, I hate it when that happened. That sucks, man. She only wanted to hear what she wanted to hear, and if she asked a question, she only wanted a yes answer, period. I know I haven't done a lot of like aside from the story commentary because I feel like these stories are perfect when you just have them on loop. But no, I hate that. There's nothing productive to be done when your boss isn't willing to have an open mind. We had a production goal set for us, but it was the kind of job that was more of a third party thing. We worked with real estate agents who then suggested us to their clients, so there was no actual direct marketing, just selling our services and products to the agents. There's very little you can do to directly affect your success other than showing up, always being available, and performing well when you get a shot. Well, she didn't care for the reality of that, so she would hammer us every monthly meeting with, "What are you doing to produce business?" She wanted to know exactly what we did every day and how we were increasing production. Again, this is not a direct sales situation, so there's a huge component of just being seen and thought of to refer. So I started to write down hour by hour what I was doing and sending it to her every Friday. It was pages of mundane crap like had 3-minute conversation with whoever, checked 14 emails for 23 minutes, etc. Well, initially it backfired a bit as she loved it. Oh my god. And made all the other employees do it too, and credited me for it, which obviously was bad. However, after a month or two of this, I actually got much busier as I guess it was focusing my attention on being intentional with my interactions. I started to be one of her favorites, slowly stopped being as detailed or submitting the activity reports at all, and ended up better at my job and off her shit list for good. Sometimes malicious compliance actually improves your own performance and productivity. Still hated her guts though, so there's that. Yeah, she didn't make it off your shit list, huh? Oh man, I wonder how the employees, like the fellow coworkers felt when they were like, OP has a great idea. Start logging every move. Just heated missiles for eyes just on his back at all times. Don't go through that door? Okay. So this one's happened back when I was maybe 8, and while I wouldn't have thought of it as malicious compliance, my mom sure did. Mom was vacuuming and I'd done something to annoy her. Can't remember what now. Well, you were 8. So she marched me down to my bedroom, sent me inside, and told me that if I came out this door before she said I could, I'm already grinning. I feel like I know where this is going. Then I'd be in big trouble, and slammed the door. So of course I waited a few minutes, then decided I was bored and wanted to go outside. Per her instructions, I ignored the door, climbed up onto my chest of drawers, opened the window, took the fly screen off the window, climbed out onto the dog kennel and then onto the ground, and went to see what my dad was doing. Sometime later, after finishing cleaning and finding that I wasn't in my room anymore, Mom stormed outside, spotted me sitting on Dad's lap on the ride-on mower while he was mowing the lawns. Mom has, of course, come over to us, absolutely fuming, and demanded to know what the hell I was doing. She told me not to leave my room. I, of course, said, rationally and confidently, Mother, you told me not to leave through the door. I obeyed your instructions by leaving through the window. I'm spending time with Papa. She stood there flabbergasted for a minute and then stormed off back inside. For ages, I thought that Mom, faced with the unassailable logic of my argument, had known she was in the wrong and given up. But no, turns out that my dad, sitting behind me and thus fully visible to Mom but not myself, was desperately trying to hold back utter howls of laughter. And Mom knew that there was no way she was winning and quit before he burst out laughing at us. Can you believe it took another 3 decades before I was assessed for autism? Actually, yes, I can. What and where in this would I pick up that was an autism move? This just seemed like, practical. This was a practical decision made with careful thought for the rules in place. I should help you, but not him. One time, many years ago, I worked in a fairly decent restaurant as a cook. One night, one of my coworkers was going to be clocking out soon and asked me to help with a few tasks so he would be ready to go. I had time, so I agreed and started working on some of these items. Enter Bossy Not Boss. He started complaining and told me that all those things was that guy's work and I shouldn't be helping. Okay, I was pretty new, so I stopped and let it go. Later that night, Bossy Not Boss was getting ready to clock off and asked me to help with some of his items. I pointed out that those were his items and he needed to take care of them. Man, oh man, he got pissed. He threatened to punch me, which would have been a huge mistake for multiple reasons. He stormed off and had to do all his tasks on his own while I piddled around in the kitchen. We got the old kitchen piddler, making bosses angry. If you think that, you can go home. This happened about 15 years ago, and after reading all the other compliance stories, I thought I would add mine. I was a tool and die maker by trade, and was working an overtime shift at a Tier 1 supplier automotive stamping plant on a Saturday morning at 6 a.m. That is hyper descriptive. This guy remembers things. Usually, if anything is gonna go wrong, it'll happen in the first 30 minutes of a press startup, since they have to align the coil and get the strip through the die. Once the presses get going, then you could start to look at what dies are scheduled to run next and check them accordingly. But if you start to work on a do and a press goes down, it'll most likely involve packing up whatever you've taken out already and rolling your toolbox to the press. This is why I was waiting 30 minutes before starting any shop work. My supervisor at the time, we'll call him Rude E, came into the tool room, saw me reading the paper, and came over and asked what I was doing. I explained to him what I stated above, to which he replied, "What's next? You want me to put a bed upstairs also?" I said if he did that, I would support him 100%, and laughed. I guess he wasn't amused because he said, "If you think you're gonna come in on OT and stand around reading the paper for 30 minutes, you can go home." Rudy then stormed off out of the shop. Enter Malicious Compliance. After he left, I started locking up my boxes and putting my shoes on. My coworker on shift asked where I was going. I told him Rude E said I could go home. About 20 minutes later, Rude E comes back into the shop looking for me. He asked my coworker where I was. My coworker told him that you told him he could go home. He then told my coworker to come with him, and he was stuck at a press for 3 hours alone. If only he'd been patient and trusted my judgment, he would have had 2 guys on a press call and not 1. Oh, Rude E. Now he's lonely. Let someone else know? Sure. Recently, a coworker asked me to send her information about a customer's questions about her website dealing with tracking pixels. I sent her the information, but as is policy, I did not include the customer. The tech department is considered full of antisocial people, and well, I am one of those antisocial people. Wink. You put a little ding after that. Today, the same coworker replied to what I sent, asking me to contact the customer about it. So I forwarded the reply, which included my previous information as well as her request to contact the customer to the customer directly. As for Fallout, well, it literally just happened when I typed it in. A few minutes after I sent the email, the CEO said he would contact her and for me not to do it, which I had to tell him it was already too late. He said any more questions like that will have to go through him, so I no longer will have to talk to customers. Got what you wanted at the end of the day. I like when you use the system to your advantage. You got exactly what you wanted out of that. First incident of malicious compliance. Everyone remembers their first. Just relocated to a new city and was contacted by a supervisor advising me on how much and what I can spend. I'm usually frugal and try to save money as much as I can, but usually don't compromise on necessities. So in order to relocate, I was planning on using the train as it was more comfortable and easygoing as compared to flight. However, I was told that in economy, you usually have baggage limitations, and even if I paid overweight, I still wouldn't be allowed to carry the extra stuff I had with me. So I thought of upgrading to business class as it offered assistant with baggage as well as complimentary meals. But before I could do that, the supervisor told me that that's not allowed. So fine, I won't upgrade. Instead, I booked an economy flight ticket last minute, paid extra baggage, and also hired moving and shipping company to ship my stuff. And cost for this is a whopping 750 Canadian as compared to the business ticket, which would have just costed an additional 150. But hey, you want to be reasonable, so here goes. Whatever you say, boss. Parking at work is a nightmare. Tell me about it. Now, before we read this story, that reminds me, when I first started learning how to drive, I didn't get my license till I was like 18 because I was really nervous around like driving a car. I don't really remember why, but I remember that being very integral to like a fear of mine. And so when I got a job, I was working, I would specifically park my car as far away as I could from anyone else's car because I was so terrified of parking next to someone. And the first day of work, training's over, I leave, someone had parked next to me and I was like, I took a deep breath. I was like, I can do this. I'm a big boy. I'm a grown man. And I scraped the sides of our cars together and I panicked. I left my information on his like hood and I never showed up to that job again. I was so frightened that I was like, just ruined my first vehicle and someone else's. Anyway, now I do voiceover and I don't have to go anywhere. So for a bit of backstory, I'm an overnight security guard. Where do you work? Is it a goddamn pizzeria? I work 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. most nights. Oh, okay, never mind, we're good. I'm with a company that has contracts with other companies for security, usually hotels, apartment complexes, clubs, etc. For this one particular site I work at 90% of the time, the parking is terrible. It's a luxury hotel and the parking garage is nowhere near as accommodating as it should be. The hotel has a valet and a restaurant on the top floor. The parking garage is only 2 floors, maybe 100 spots for all employees and hotel/restaurant guests. They recently made it so that roughly a quarter of the garage is reserved for employees, which is nowhere near enough. They also made it so you need a parking permit to park there. If you don't have a permit, you get towed. One warning allowed via a sticker on your car. The garage is also valet only for non-employees. Only other option is to pay to park in the street. Personally, I have 3 cars not counting my SOs that I drive on occasion. The parking permits list your car's year, make, model, color, and license plate number. My boss told me that the permits are transferable between cars, but they'll come and ask you why your permit does not match the car. My boss told me to say, well, boss's name told me that the permits are transferable between cars and this is the car I drove today. Also, I asked them for permits for all of my cars to save time, and they said every person only gets 1 permit. I was also told that they have to check every time the permit doesn't match, whether they know the car or not. Cue malicious compliance. The day I received my permit, I continued to drive a different car every day. One of my 3 cars, my SO's car, my mom's car, her boyfriend's car, every car I was able to drive. I drove to work. After a while, management was starting to get upset about it. I gave them the same answer every time. I told them, well, my boss said they're transferable and this is the car I drove here today. After about a month and a half of this, I came in one day to my office and there it was in all its glory. A stack of permits for every single car I ever drove to work, each with their year, make, model, color, and tag number. Work, 0. The legend himself, Salmonator 0107, 1. And 1 he did. Student would run about saying, it's not fair. I teach private music lessons at a university. They're one-on-one type of classes. I was hired late into the semester and walked into a messy department. I have a student who I teach private lessons. Last semester, she complained about my scheduling approach and then would cancel herself because she needed to go to work instead. Because private music lessons are totally subjective, I modified the rubric in such a way that she could get an A-. She then texted me asking me why she didn't get an A because it was messing up her GPA. So now we're in the current semester. She sends me a text one day when I'm already on the road telling me she wasn't coming to class that day. My boss tells me she told him point blank she wasn't coming to class and could have notified me before I started driving. Someone famous was on campus and she wanted to see them. So I told her it was an unexcused absence. When I told her the absence was unexcused now, she starts sending me messages she was sick. I then realized I'm driving an hour down there one day to do research for my degree at a different school, and then another day just to teach her. But my syllabus now says that lessons are by appointment and that they can change as needed. I changed the day I teach to the day I'm already down there for research. She complains about that too. It's not fair! Because she has so many classes that day. Apparently my time and $14 in tolls I pay to teach only her is completely fair. I'm sick of this at this point. I tried to accommodate her because I wanted to treat my students better than some of the jerks I had when I was in school treated me. I say I'm only coming to campus one day a week and it's Tuesday. I'm told by my boss that she's really stressed out because she has 3 other classes that day, but I honestly just don't care. And I updated my syllabus so all the shit she pulled last semester she can't do this semester and complain about her grade. She wanted structure and now she has it. Well, no, she wanted structure when she could set it because your time is her commodity, right? No, incorrect.